Then I don't understand that. That sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
apologize, you all. I had to get on my phone because yeah, I'm in Kansas right now and I'm in the car and it just didn't work with my iPad. So I
All
see
good.
I'm not the only one in the car. I see Yeshayahu
All
up in
right.
the car too.
All right.
We car buddies.
We are car buddies today. I'm trying to figure out the right angle so I'm
No
seeing.
angle fits you, my
Nah,
brother.
you good. Nah, you good money, Aki.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's
Okay.
get it. Let's
Yep.
get it.
Let's get it started.
Okay.
Speaking of that, I had seen that video the other day. That Let's get it started video by the Black Eyed Peas.
Oh my
The
goodness.
little black
They was
eyed
dancing.
peas.
They was dancing mad hard. They was like,
No, stop.
Yeah. You just a part of my spirit has just been taken. Oh boy, the Black Eyed Peas.
now you offended Zebulon. Now you highly offended. Yeah, I did see the
Oh
video.
no. Oh yeah. Oh no. Listen, anybody who listens to Black Eyed Peas is going to Sheol. So this is be very clear about that.
Oh my goodness. See, hey, real quick, this last outburst I'm gonna talk about, but brothers, Chief Zebulon, I just told my cousin about you. I was like, every time something that he don't like, he'll say is witchcraft or so the devil or something like that. But he be playing. He said, "Who is he?" I said, "Chief Zebulon." He said, "Oh, I know the guy to be on your page, Chief Zebulon." I was like, "This man is hilarious."
Yeah.
Witchcraft for the darn devil.
Oh yeah, Black Eyed Peas is definitely that is Illuminati Central right there.
Oh my God! Cut it out.
Yeah, you're finished. You listen to them. Yeah, your soul is finished.
Oh,
Chief
man.
Zeb, let them know. Let them know, Chief Zeb. Let them know.
Okay, we're finna get it.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Go
go.
ahead,
Did
get
y'all
started.
share Facebook or no? Should I try to do that or what?
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and get started though. It's 1:08, just to be
Okay.
mindful of time. I'm going. I'm gonna mute everybody real quick to get started. Okay. Okay. Welcome everybody to another episode of Love Language the Roundtable. Today we deep, boy. We 5 deep. My brother Nashawn is here. He's only new cast of characters that's here, but and he is a character. But I'm glad he's able to make it. So today's topic is hope everybody's having a good day so far. Happy Sabbath to those who observe. If you would like to join in, because I don't know how many people can be on here, but I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe 12 like the tribes. That would be funny if there was a limit. But if you want to come on, you're welcome. Again, we often want women to join. Last week we had my sister Shamika that joined, and I know a few other sisters they comment typically. So if you want to ever join and have your face on here or not, you're welcome to do so. I know it could be kind of unnerving to do so, but you're not gonna like die afterwards. I mean, you may, but you're not gonna like be stoned. But speaking your heart on this platform, because the platform is for everybody who considers themselves to be Black. So it's not necessarily a faith community, although a lot of people on here do believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but that's not, it's open up to everybody whose goal is to ultimately restore and rebuild the Black household. That's the overall purpose of the platform. So anyway, that's the initial PSA. And if you want to join, there's a link in the bio, the details portion, I think, that you can click on and join, or you can inbox us individually if you have problems. Like Shamal was having problems because he's on his iPad. Shots fired. But we're gonna get it going. Okay, so today's topic is word is bond, accountability in the household. And I'm gonna read the synopsis, and as always, we're gonna run through the questions, and then if you're able to add your thoughts, we welcome your thoughts online or however you want to do it. So the detail says Black families are only as strong as the integrity of the individuals that exist within them. As we work to repair the breach in our homes, what are some examples, of the ways in which we fail in our commitments to each other? How do we ensure that people are held accountable for what they say they are going to do? Should the act of keeping one's word lie solely on the individual, or should there be a communal response? And this is not the angry mob. I thought that was funny if that would be the answer to this question. Are there circumstances that require one to break their promise? And how do we teach our children to be young women and men of their word? So we'll go to the questions again, but we're talking about accountability in the Black hole and what purpose that plays. So I'm gonna mute myself, and anybody that wants to join in with initial thoughts about the topic, you're welcome to do so.
All right, I'm gonna get myself out the way really quick. First, I want to thank everybody that's tuning in. I see we had a total of about 5 people on here. It's weird the way I got this set up, but it went down a little bit. But I do thank those that are still remaining. Thank you, Sister Yana Levy, or Levi. I don't know how she actually pronounces the last name, but Shabbat Shalom to you. She says Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I think this is a great topic, a great discussion that needs to be hit. Great questions up in there, and I look forward to everyone's comments, concerns, questions, perspectives, all of the above. And I'm out. Whoo, that was short, wasn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Can y'all hear me? All right, here we go. Okay, cool. I guess I'm next. Shalom, shalom, everybody. I cannot see anything on Facebook today, so I guess somebody else will have to check out the comments or whatnot.
I'm
Cool,
on it.
cool.
I'm on it. I got you.
Thank you. Very deep conversation. Word is born is I'm quite sure that's been used all around, but I know we used to use it a lot up here on the East Coast. New Jersey native. But it's exactly. It's very necessary. I love the expression. I did not know that it came from the Bible, but I guess I know that now. But when I was younger, I didn't. But your word is a very necessary thing in all manners of relationships, whether it's marriage, somewhere in between, dating, friendship, um, relationship you share with family, kin. It's all very deep and necessary. Um, and touching on these moments where you know where your moral compass comes into conflict with your natural mind is deep, because that's kind of what happens when you have to decide whether you're going to tell the truth or a lie. And depending on, I guess, situations, these things can be swayed. So it's interesting to get everybody's viewpoints and opinions on the questions, and see how people feel about the things like white lies and um, you know, are what they say not telling the whole truth. I remember someone telling me one time, I didn't lie to you, I just didn't tell you the full story. And kind of seeing where those things lie at, and how people feel on the receiving end and giving, because sometimes social bias and other things like that can kind of skew how you feel, whether it's reactionary or you're the one presenting the action. So I'm going to yield for right there for now, but shalom, everyone.
Okay. Another touchy subject, and I think Ak Yashayahu, he kind of briefly touched on something that I was gonna delve into as well. Is that before we can like talk about keeping our word, and our word being bond, we also have to consider, well, what is a lie? What is truth? We define these two concepts, then we can understand why keeping our word is in fact important, although not always possible. But, and again, that's the rabbit hole that this show is going to end up going down. But yeah, but I think that under any circumstances, doing our best to keep our word is important, not only for the obvious reasons, but because anything that we do in this life, it's all based on the assumption that certain things are going to occur. When we pray to the Most High, we assume that, well, I'm going to pray to the Most High, I'm going to do this and that. I expect something to come back in return. Why? Because the Most High promises certain things. He says that if you serve me, these are the blessings that you will get. If you rebel against me, these are also the things that you're going to get. So there's always, you can't get around promises. But the question, of course, is, and I think ultimately when we get further into this discussion, is it possible to always keep promises? And if not, what are the parameters that dictates how that's going to pan out? And is there certain situations that call for breaking a promise? Like I said, it's a rabbit hole, but I'll concede at that point, and we go to the next speaker.
Peace, everyone. Thanks for having me on. My little take on it is, about accountability, especially, in the household. You think about, as parents, we lead by examples to our kids and stuff. So, everything that we do, whether it's good or bad, they're going to take hold on to it. So being accountable for things and being a person of your words is very key, because, you think about, like, I work in the schools, think about the kids, they pretty much just go off or whatever and stuff. And, like, you teach them, try to show them to be a person of their words. And like I say, the best way to do that is to show them how, let them understand the basis of how you're supposed to be important, how you're supposed to be a person of your word, because your word is bond. Like we know that's in the Bible, but that's something we live by, as being, adults, or, somebody who's old, who people listen to. But I'm just saying, our word is very, very key what we say. So even when having kids and people that look up to us, we got to maintain that that type of stance on that, to make sure that they keep their word, because that makes you that helps you being credible or not. That proves to people that you really are who you say you are. Because it's easy to say things and not really back it up with anything, but if you stand on that word, make you a credible individual. And it's very key for young individuals, because this is the best time for them to learn. And their first teacher is from their parents.
Yeah, that's good. I want to. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Shema, you already talked.
I just wanted to say, appreciate the brother coming in, man.
That's my blood brother. That's my.
That's your brother.
Yeah, you were supposed to meet him in Chicago.
You see how she treat me, bro? You see how sis treat me, man? It's a pleasure to meet you. I don't know if you can.
Likewise.
I'm sure you can. She's been around. I've been around her for years, man. Good sister. I'm sure you know that because that's your sister. But I hope that
likewise.
she continues.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I hope you continue to come, man. We're trying to, get it out there more, because I was talking to actually Sister Yana, and she actually said, I want to tell you all that she loves how we basically conduct ourselves on this show. She's seen a lot of people, and I'm sure all of us has, to where when we have differences or whatever, because we're not all going to have the same thoughts or perspective or opinion, but we're not lashing out at each other. So again, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on. I won't speak for the other people, but I appreciate you. Hopefully you'll continue to come and give us your wisdom and your perspective and opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Likewise.
Oh, that was so sweet. Now I'm gonna cry. Thug tears.
She cried. Yeah, she cries over everything.
I do. Thank you. I'm about to cry right now. I love what everybody said. I wanted just to add on, if I could, to add on to what Sean said and what Zebulon said about first, the Most High. Like, I think that's the key, right? So if we desire him to do certain things based off the word, I mean, that's all we got. All we got is his word, you know what I'm saying? And I think the same thing is with each other, which is interesting, because there's no, like, I believe that we always have examples of what he's trying to convey in us in the scriptures, like in our real physical life. So that's all people have. And I know it's a complex issue, but to take that and to act like it don't matter is problematic. And I come from a family where when that didn't happen, like, it still bothered me to this day. You know what I'm saying? Where I had that where people said they was gonna do something and they weren't gonna do it, and so now it's like a pet peeve of mine. Because my thing is like Zebulon, you were saying, like the truth, and you didn't intend this. I don't think you intended this by saying this, but the truth is the truth, right? Whether it's good or bad, or ugly or attractive or not, that's always preferable or preferred than any other narrative, right? So, and I think that's a whole nother conversation that deals with even being confident in your own person and who you are. So if you're a person that feels like you can't tell the truth to people, that says more about you than it does the other person, and that's probably a whole nother conversation. But I think that probably will be threaded throughout our conversation today. And what would make somebody not keep their word? Are they saying stuff to you that they mean in an idealistic way, or are they telling you what they can physically or actually provide you at that moment? Which that's a whole nother conversation. You think about the vows we make when we get married, or the vows that we say to our children. We say to our children, "I love you no matter what." You know what I'm saying? And that's true. But then how far does that go? Which is the whole unconditional love versus whatever other kind of love there is. But I don't want to ramble, but all those thoughts just running through my head from the initial comments about the importance of it regardless. And I would just say for sure, definitely, whatever we say, whether we know it or not, is ultimately gonna be the formation and standard for how we live our life and how people receive us. And we have to be comfortable with that. If you, like I would say to my, last thing I would say to my kids, right? I would say, okay, if you see if you put an orange seed in the ground, what's it gonna produce? And they say, oh, orange tree or orange bush or whatever. The same thing with us, you know what I'm saying? You can't, whoever you are is gonna ultimately bear fruit or bear witness of who you are anyway. And I think the goal is to just, be honest to yourself and stop lying to yourself first. But that's what I think initially. So I'm gonna go into the first question again. We can just open up the mic, whoever want to jump in first. I'll just always go last because I'm a woman and that's my place.
Come on now, stop
See,
that.
I did it.
Stop that. We're not gonna do that here on this show. You know how I feel about woman and man. I understand. Come on now, let's get it. If you want to go first, you go first. If you want to go third, you go.
I'm good. I don't like talking that much. I just thought it was funny.
I know. You making fun of the community, the movement.
Exactly. You know what
Yeah, that statement right there, that was just nothing but straight witchcraft anyways.
That's right. That's right.
Straight witchcraft.
All right. Y'all want to just go in the order that we went, so we won't, jump on each other's toes, or how y'all want to do that? Want to just go in the order that we just went?
Order is always good.
All right, let's do that then. That means I go first.
So the first question is, as we work to repair the breach in our homes, let's start over. I have a slight cold, excuse me. As we work to repair the breach in our homes, what are some examples of the ways in which we fail in our commitments to each other? So how do we fail each other in the household?
You know what? I'm gonna keep it simple, because like what Chief More Zebulon would bring out, like it's just that question is a whole plethora of different answers. But I think the reason we fail each other, man and woman, you speaking of more so, right? We say family. Y'all know, to me, the pinnacle of the family is the man and the woman. If they're not intact, everything else gonna fail. So I think we fail with not putting each other first. And self-preservation. Get my book off Amazon. A Manual to Self-Preservation and Divine Conscience. But anyway, that's how we fail. I think we lack self-preservation amongst each other and putting each other first. Because if we don't put each other first, the family will crumble. And y'all, I brought out real quick, if you allow me. I don't know if any of y'all ever flew a plane. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't been wrong about this yet, I don't think. When the plane is about to go down, one of the things that they tell you that the parents are the first ones that should put that mask on their face, not the children first. Because if you give the mask, the air to the child, and then you pass out, and you pass out, then who's going to protect them? So they're telling you to put it on you first, so you're good to um, protect that order or protect the family. You know, they're after you. But that's another conversation. I'm just saying the mother and the father is the foundation. That's it. Keep y'all two first. Preserve self. Put yourselves first before all the outside sources. That's why we failed, in my opinion.
I believe I'm next, right? Um, why do we fail? Hmm, sorry, I had to do that on camera. Why do we fail? Very interesting question. As you guys already stated, can be answered in many different ways. I like Shama's answer. Um, failing, failing because the heads aren't correct. Um, but to piggyback off of that, I think failure happens when you cease to focus on consistency. Um, I think when you have a level of consistency, or you're genuine, as we say, your word is bond, or you're focusing on the things that you're saying, or even if there's an addendum to the plan or the original plan, that level of consistency with addressing it and the level of consistency with follow through, when those aren't focused on, if that's left behind, I think everything else kind of falls. As Nashan said, even with the children, they look at the adults or the guardians, the heads first, see what they're doing, and they emulate that. When you have situations where you're not creating a good example or a positive one at least, or even if your example is not so positive, whatever initiative or message you want to send to them, that falls when you fail to consistently let them know. I give you an example. My mom's used to say, "Don't do what I do what I say," and it never quite clicked with me because my understanding of things didn't necessarily come with just the understanding of the words that was given to me alone. It was action as well. So prime example, it's funny because Kevin Hart even mentioned it in a joke of his. But my mom's, I came home one day from school with a message from the teacher, and my mom's told me to tell the teacher a few choice words. I'm not going to say it on this show. But I went and I told the teacher those few choice words, and my teacher was a little shocked. She called my mom's. My mom's told her, yes, I did say it. And my mom's wasn't upset with me because I think she kind of understood how my brain worked. Um, she looked at it and she told me, you got to understand when somebody's telling you to do something and when they're telling you to do something. But the consistency wasn't there because usually when a message was given or an order was given or some type of lesson, it was only told through her words, but her actions sometimes were different. So consistency, I think, is key. Just using that as an example. Hopefully, that was a good one. But I think whatever you're going to do, whether it's through action or word, it has to be like that same across the board. So I'm gonna yield right there. I don't want to ramble. Let somebody else come in.
Yeah, I think that's very key too. Like you just said, actions and your words. But like I feel like your actions speaks volume versus your words. We can say anything. A lot of times we say things, just out of anger, whatever the situation is. But I think we can learn do best by actions and stuff. You know, like our parents tell you different things. Like you say, your mom said, you know, don't follow. She said, don't follow. Don't do what I say. What you say? How you said it again? I don't want to mess it up. What you said?
She said, "Don't do what she said. Basically, do what she said. Don't do what she do. Like her
Right.
actions. Don't repeat her actions. But what I tell you, that's what you do."
Right. So with that saying, you got to make sure that your actions is lined up with your words. You know, like I said, we say things, but a lot of times it don't line up what we do, how we put it into action. So even with kids and stuff, like I said, it's best to do it by your actions and show them. Like, you know, one of the biggest things growing up was like my dad. You know, you look somebody in the eyes. You know, they show them that you know that you're confident in yourself, or you know that you're credible too. That's a big key, being credible. You know, by looking somebody in the eye, giving them a firm handshake, those type of things. You know, even with your kids, you know, you want to teach them that to be credible, you know, to look someone in the eyes and to be confident and, you know, be a person of their words, you know, because we know, like even the word of God, you think about how it says, you know, your word is binding. You think about how everything you say, you be held accountable for, you know, or, you know, what you say would come out your mouth, you know what I'm saying? It's life or death, you know what I'm saying? So it's powerful in words. So it's always good to have that credibility behind those words, especially when you're dealing with in the family, in the household, you know, when you're raising kids.
Indeed. I guess not too much I can offer after all of that was said. That everybody brought forth, but I will say this for my take. It's so much of a rabbit hole, with this subject, because in order to touch one thing, there's other things that have to be dealt with prior to it in order for us to understand that, and then those things have to be reevaluated, and it just goes on and on, whatever like that, which I guess is a good thing. But I think to the question of what ways it says examples of the ways in which we fail in our communities, in our commitments, should I say, to each other. And I think the root of a lot of this or the initial root is what I refer to as value and trust. In order to keep your word to anybody, there has to be value and trust. So we won't even touch on the relationship between us and the Most High yet. We'll just talk about our interrelations. If, let's say in a marriage, let's say for whatever reason you're married and whatever, and the relationship gets to the point where there's some murkiness or whatever. If I make a promise to a person, but there's no value or trust in it, why you cannot expect a person to now hold their word, because if I don't value you, then then I don't see any repercussions for breaking my word. But you're worthless to me. So if I do decide to break my word for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, because there's no value. I don't value you as a person. I don't value you as an intellectual being. So of course, if there's no value there, there's nothing to hold me or to bind me to a promise. And it's the same thing with trust. Trust is just the other side of that coin. That if we trust in each other, then value is going to be established. Then there's that point in time where you're saying, okay, yeah, I trust this person. This person means this, that, third to me, and so I want to keep my word, because I don't want at any point in time for them to look at me in my eyes and say, I can't trust anything that comes out of this person's mouth. A lot of the problems that we have as a people is because we don't have trust in each other. Men don't trust women. Let's just say it for what it is. Men don't trust women, and women don't trust men. And so you're kind of caught in an impasse now. Now it's like, well, I don't trust you because you don't trust me. And you're like, well, I don't trust you because you don't trust me. And we just keep going on in circles. So if there's no trust, but then there's that biological and that emotional urge to want to be with somebody. You want to be with somebody because nobody wants to be alone. So there's a biological and emotional need to be with somebody, but you're with this person, but you don't really trust them. Why? Because there's already a pre-existing trust issue with us. How do you then keep a word? How do you say, let's say, how do you keep your marriage sanctified if you don't trust the person that you're being sanctified with? If I don't trust them, I can't trust their word. If I don't see any value in them, I don't see any value in their commitment or their word. This is one of the reasons why marriages can end so quickly, and why adultery happens so quickly and so easily, because there's no value there. If you really value the person that you're with, you would almost have a godly fear to commit adultery. Not so much of what you expect the Most High to do to you, but more so you can't fathom the thought that the other person could hate you for being such a such a truce breaker, such a covenant breaker. So again, I think a lot of it's a lot of it has to do with the issues of trust and value. If there's no value, if you don't see any value in the person, there's nothing to hold you back from breaking a promise. A promise is nothing. It's like, yeah, listen, I don't care about you like that anyway, so it'd be nothing for me to break my covenant with you. And this is pretty much what we've done with the Most High as well. It's like, hey, I don't fear the Most High like that, so you know what? I'm gonna go against this covenant. I'll just go ahead and break that, whatever, because there's no trust. We don't trust in the word of the Most High, and we don't value the promises of the Most High. So all these things kind of they intertwine, our relationships with each other, our relationships with the Most High, and then in reverse as well. So I'm just gonna put that out there because I know there's a whole lot more everybody has to unpack as well. So
can I comment on that, sis, real quick?
Oh, how dare you? Go ahead.
I just want to read a comment. Yana has said totally agree in regards to Chief Zebulon. When words are broken, it is definitely a sign of not being valued enough to follow through. So I think that was a great addition. And I just want to say, for me, man, like what he just said just opened some eyes for like my past and why things took place. I wasn't valued, and maybe they didn't trust me. Not even from a standpoint of me cheating. I haven't cheated. You know what I'm saying? In regards to what cheating is, I guess. But thank you for that. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. Hopefully people take that in consideration. What you said. And that's it. That's all I got.
Can I chime in as well? Uh-oh. Everything froze, so I'm not sure if... Can somebody say something if y'all...
Hello?
Okay, there we go.
I heard all of you.
Okay. Yeah, let me jump in real quick. And then you can jump in. Please. I totally agree about the value thing. And I don't necessarily want to beat a dead horse with that, but I think that's definitely important, because if you don't, people, period, right? So I'm an eternal optimist. I think I always say that. But if you don't value people, humanity in general, like, it don't make a difference whether you are in an intimate relationship or not. Like, your worship stands still outside of the household too. That's not what we're talking about, but I feel like Sean was talking about credibility, and you should be that person to everybody, right? People should be able to look at you and say, oh, that's a good brother or sister, you know what I'm saying? Or they wouldn't, or if somebody was allowing you, they would say, well, that don't even sound like them. They would be confused about that, you know what I'm saying? But I do think that value in another person is important. The other thing I wanted to add to the conversation is that trust and all those things are built over time. So I think that when you initially meet somebody, even if you known them for a while, you initially meet them, and now you're on a separate journey towards being not romantic or whatever, be more involved in that way, it's still a process, right? So it's the same thing with building up a house, and I don't want to go into a long metaphor, but even with a household, you coming together could be setting a foundation, but whether or not you have a bay window in the front room, that's part of, like, you all coming together and creating that specific part of your household that's distinct. or if you have, granite cabinets or something else, it's a different type of. The point is that you'll continue to grow and build in your house according to your personal strengths. So the work don't stop just because you all come together. And I think too that we're not taught to be in it for the long haul. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I do think trauma impacts how we deal with relationships. I mean, you're right. We don't know what we're doing to begin with. You know what I'm saying? We haven't had good examples as far as our parents are concerned or anybody else around us. So we really are trying to clasp in the darkness, trying to figure out how to do this thing. But I think it requires a lot of patience on our part, and knowing that the process of not you making a vow, but the other person believing in you and trusting you, that's a whole process that needs to be consistent. I think Sean said it, or I don't know who said it, but being consistently that way. And then they, if they choose not to believe you, that's on them. But if you are consistent and you choose, and also I think hearing your partner, right? If they say something, listening and taking it into account, and like I think Zebulon saying, being afraid to even being afraid of even making them feel some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? That needs to be taken into account, because it ain't just about what one person thinks individually. It's about y'all collectively holding each other up and valuing each other up, valuing each other, so that it's easier to relax and be in a state of trusting the other person and relaxing, which is hard to do. So yes, y'all, I think you want to get back on. My bad.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, bro.
Go ahead, Nashan. You cool.
What I was saying is, like what you're just saying, like it's very key. Like I said, especially like talking about marriage and things like that. Understanding what a person feels like. With me, I just always try to put myself in somebody else's shoes. It's just anything, and just try to kind of understand where a person's coming from. Sometimes we always don't necessarily understand where they're coming from. Try to see why they feel a certain kind of way. But like as far as credibility is concerned, like I said, having been in a marriage and everything like that, you gotta have that trust, in order for it to work, and think about how the obstacles that you face in the marriage, just with the world and everything else that's going on, those already obstacles you have to deal with. But if you don't have that trust and foundation, that's gonna tear you up quicker than what the world can do, So it's very key in having that trust in each other, and like I said, and I think a lot of times too, the trust build with going through things, that can necessarily tear your family apart, but going through those things and getting through them, that will build the trust. So when something comes along, y'all got that foundation where that, hey, we got through this the last, whatever, together, we're gonna get through this together as well.
And if I may just inject something real quick, not too long ago, I was reading a couple online. It was some other little writings that I was investigating in, and there was a brother who I hit up on Messenger a lot, and we were talking about the issue of trust in relationships prior to this show. And I said, the funny thing about trust is that if we look at the examples that our ancestors gave in the scriptures, when we look at the examples that they gave us, take Abraham, for instance. He went amongst a people who he's never had any dealings with in order to purchase parcel of land where he can, of course, bury wife, bury himself, whatever. He went in and he conducted this business transaction. Now, mind you, they don't know who this man is. The people of the land, they don't know who Abraham is. I mean, they may have heard about him, said, "Oh yeah, Abraham the Hebrew, whatever." Abraham doesn't know them. But notice that they were able to strike a covenant, and their word was placed on that covenant. Now, mind you, these are people who've never met each other prior, so they have no pre-existing reasons to even want to trust each other. Why? I don't know you. You don't know me. But I think it has a lot to do. Again, we always talk about this. Always goes back to a pre-existing culture, and of course, there was in the Hebrew in the Hebraic custom of things in ancient times, there was already a pre-existing trust amongst people. Like they automatically trusted you until you gave them a reason not to. It was an automatic trust, automatically. When you got married, Isaac married Rebecca. They didn't have any pre-existing knowledge of each other. Isaac could have been a piece of crap, and she wouldn't have known, and vice versa. But there was an understanding that people in that time, they moved with a certain integrity that was automatically assumed, and you had to do things in order to prove that you were not trustworthy. Unfortunately, in the time that we live in, it's the exact opposite. We go into relationships, we go into friendships and things of that nature with the assumption that people are already untrustworthy. And then they have to spend years and years and years to win your trust. And vice versa. Man with the women, women with the men. There's this process of, well, you got to prove to me that. It's like, well, what do you mean I have to prove? Like what is the proof? And like, how long is this going to take? Like, what do I have to do in order to get the trust? And so what we've become so untrustful as a people that we'll have people trying to prove their trustworthiness for the rest of their life. And it'll never be enough. It'll be like, well, when does it end? So I think a lot of the trust issues that we're in a society that is based on mistrust. It's based on constant deception. Always. Everything is always a deception. And so this is the culture in which we now find ourselves in, and we base our interactions with each other based on that concept. The whole Hebraic concept of you're trustworthy until you give me a reason not to is like almost archaic in this day and time. And I think that our mistrust for each other and the culture that comes with it plays a major role in issues of keeping one's word. So I just wanted to just put that out there, just as and I know I shouldn't have actually went out of turn, but slackly for that.
Oh, you cool. This the comment section, not the your thought section. But I think no, for real. I want to read a comment, and then I want Yeshayahu, I think he was about to say something before Chief Zebulon, but this comment been sitting here for a while. So after I read the comment, Yeshayahu, let us know what you was gonna say, and then maybe we can all comment on this comment because it's a question. I'm seeing a question mark. So the comment says, could it also be stated that a person who breaks their word often doesn't value themselves as well? Or, if they value themselves and the weight/importance of the word they give, wouldn't they be more inclined to keep their word regardless of exterior factors? Hopefully I read that good enough. But that's the question. So yes, Yahoo, you could choose to come in and say what you wanted to say or answer the question, whichever one you prefer, Aki.
All right. That's actually a good question. And basically Zebulon kind of already hit on what I was going to kind of tap into. So there's no need restating that. But as far
Slackly
as
for that,
that,
Aki.
nah, you're good, bro. This is good. This is excellent dialogue. But to that last comment that you just read, I actually would agree. As far as letting somebody down by not keeping your word or not keeping your word in general shows that you don't care, not only about yourself, but the way you're presented, your name, your character, even as much as your legacy. Um, I, I I was taught even as a youngin, um, how you do and treat others is a reflection not only of how you want to be treated, but the way you kind of the way you're seen. Um, I remember my father, I believe it was, used to say, you know, was it my father? I don't know who it was. It might have been my pops. Could have been somebody else. But when I was younger, the saying used to go something to the similitude of the way you present yourself or the way your name holds weight. It was my aunt, I think it was, talking about my pops, because she used to say, wherever we would go with my pops, everybody be like, "Oh, UKB son." Oh, all right, word. Or anytime somebody talking, especially when he at his funeral, the amount of people that stood up as a testament to his character, that added on to who he was, not only as a person, but it explained what his legacy was. It gave I would say me and my brother something to live up to, because even certain family members will say, you know, if we did something that was out of tune with that, you know, your pops would have never did that, or your pops would have never acted like that. You know what I mean? So it was kind of not weighted in a bad sense, but it was something to kind of measure yourself up to. And I know we do that with you know, the patriarchs in the book, and for those that believe in Christ or those that believe, you know, in the people of the Bible, we kind of hold ourselves to the same standard that they did, or at least the examples of their lives that we have, and try to live up to that. So when you're, this is just an example of that, not being able to keep your word or presenting yourself in one way and somebody finding falsehood in that and you being okay, um, shows it makes you question your integrity, and then and being cool with that says a lot about yourself. And I think everything presents itself as a lesson, but when people present that lesson to me, it's always interesting. Or if I see them acting that way with somebody else, you know, because if it's easy for you to, my grandmother I think used to say it, if it's easy for you to lie to me over this, what makes other people think you won't lie to them over anything lighter? You know what I mean? Or anything heavier. You know, if you can do something this criminal over something this light, what happens when things get real tough? How do you present yourself? So I think that's a testament to your character, and you should feel some type of way about that, or how you view yourself. So I'm going to yield. I think I probably went out of turn, but I'm gonna let someone else have the floor.
Back
Yeah,
to
like
you,
I said,
Tamar. Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, go ahead, bro.
No, I was just putting the baton back into Tamar's hand. But if you got a comment, go ahead. You good?
Well, I was just going to just elaborate a little bit, just saying, like I said, even with you think about credibility too, with people, you know, like I said, you know, somebody say something about somebody, you know, you hear about this person, like, oh, this person this way, that way, you know, and we tend to believe those things without even figuring out who this person is. You know, we go by what people tell us and stuff. You know, a lot of people do that, but I'm a firm believer. Like I said, just, you know, you give that person a chance and you see for yourself, you know, what their actions are according to how they conduct themselves. You know, versus what somebody else tell you. You know, even like your brother was saying about how, you know, like you think about how your parents say, don't God embarrass me, don't, you know, you don't ruin our name, you know, things of that nature and stuff like that. Those things would be taught, you know. But the thing is, a lot of times, like I said, we see these things, these examples, and we don't follow after them. And then when a person do something or say something, like I said, we tend to believe what that person say, although we don't necessarily see those things. So I'm a firm believer, just let people be them and just try to figure it out and just adjust accordingly, you know, because I know we are, as people, I know we do have our guards up at times because we have been hurt so much, you know. But the biggest thing is you know, give people opportunity and chances, things like that. Because like I said, we do get hurt, and it's only natural not to want to feel that way, you know, we want to get hurt, you know. But and that makes a person credibility too, as you know, damaged too, when they hurt you consistently with the same stuff over and over again, you know. But being credible is very key, though, like I said, because it gives you what you need to know if I want to deal with this person or not, you know, and that's biggest key, because I know I don't want to be around somebody who's going to always tell me one thing, but then they do totally opposite, you know,
Yes,
stuff
sir.
like that. So you got to be very mindful of that too as well, you know, because I think it just comes from us always being hurt as people and just keeping our guards up and not trusting anyone.
Real quick.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
What you about to say? Or what you say? I hope I didn't hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
What you say? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just
Can you
gonna
hear me?
comment. Yeah, we hear you now. Your
No, go
brother,
ahead.
your brother froze. I
Okay,
see
go ahead.
like a Sprite commercial or something right now on my end. Um, man, y'all said some stuff. The credible part, that's tough once you lose that from your spouse, your wife, your husband. You want to be credible. I think today people don't care. I think one of y'all said selfish. We are very selfish. We are not about each other anymore. That is, I'm just bringing out some stuff I heard, which I was saying, credible, selfish. Um, the reverse of waiting until somebody prove that you are um, about falsehood. You know, like they just back then it seemed like it was just a known thing in ancient times. Trust you until you don't. That was amazing. I love that. And today we had told y'all we hate each other, and that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Men and women hate each other today.
Yeah, and I think that's the again that's the purpose of this platform is to air those things out, because we're not talking about the issues that we're the reasons why we, and if we don't speak about the trauma, then we can't never get to the healing that can be applied. You know, it's for us to get back, you know, get back that way, because it ain't about keep going forward. It's about stopping and turn back around. You know what I'm saying? Figuring out like how far have we fallen from a desired state. So I'm glad that we've all talked about those different issues. Shema, what you was just saying about, and then, you know, Zebulon too, everybody said it about us, this being kind of unusual. You know, we come from a culture historically that people just kind of were like, trusted. But I think it was because they, if you try to do something crazy. But so the next question is, how do we ensure that people are accountable? Excuse me. How do we ensure that people are held accountable for what they say they are going to do? I don't think it. I think it's a different vibe. We kind of scatter and make sure people are held accountable for what they say they're going to do. That's my.
This is back on me. I don't know if I'm breaking up or y'all hear me. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think Tamar's connection is
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't hear Tamar at all, and she was froze for like the past 5 minutes.
Oh, that's on your
Okay.
end. I heard everything she said, but everybody was glitching. But it's
Okay.
okay. We're gonna bounce back. We're gonna bounce back. I say we stone everybody. That's my answer. I'm playing. I'm playing.
A pocket full of stones.
Look. Here's a real
You said
answer.
your
I
answer.
think
What did you say your answer was, Aki?
stone them. Stone everybody. Send them to the fire. No, I'm playing.
That could work, but you know, yeah, there's some other things that has to come before it, though.
I know. Man, it's just hard. It's hard to um for the accountability part for people, man. It's if people don't care. People today, we have no consequences. It's no real consequences. There's no integrity involved. So I mean, I really don't have an answer. So I'm gonna be quiet. I'm not gonna just rant. I'm gonna just say today is just hard to find two individuals that are truly sincere with one another, that has integrity, that values and trusts, like you said, Chief, one another. Because if those things like y'all been putting out there is not there, it's really no accountability. It could set somebody could get set off in a minute and just be like, oh, I don't care. So my answer is finding somebody that is sincere in this journey with you. Preferably believes in our creator and the literature and values you, trusts you, and not holding on to past things that makes them hate the woman or hate the man. And that's hard.
Well, we spoke about this in a few other shows prior about the importance of accountability, and I recall sharing with with y'all how I come out of a camp tradition that was very staunch on accountability. I mean, literally, being accountable in the sense of if you were out of pocket, if you abused your woman or you did things that was not Torah based, there were men set up in the camp, and whatever that they were called the zealots, and they would come to your house and they would pull you out of your house and say, yeah, you're coming down to the camp because you're out of damn order, and we'll bring you to the camp and bring you before the elders. And if you were found to be out of pocket, according to the report, you were given 39 lashes. And some people might see that as a little bit extreme, but that's the price of accountability. That people have to understand that in life, all decisions that you make come with blessings and comes with curses. This is what the Most High has always taught us. That put forth your hand. You have life and death. Reach out your hand for that which you choose. But anything that you choose, understand that there are repercussions that come along with it. If it's righteousness, you get the blessings. If it is wickedness, then there's things that come along with that. And this is one of the beautiful things about the Torah, is that the Torah equally, it deals equally with mercy, with grace, and these things, but on equal footing, it also deals with severity. And that, no, you're not going to just get away with anything. And so when there's repercussions for your actions, people tend to take their word much more seriously, because they know if I utter something out of my mouth, and this goes back to the book of Numbers chapter 30, if I utter something out of my mouth before the Most High, I don't even have to invoke the name of the Most High. If I utter it, and I'm a man of Torah, if I'm a woman of Torah, and I utter something, it is automatically lined up with the Most High's name. You have to keep that word. And if you do not keep that word, there is severe consequences for that. Some cases, even your life. Some cases, even your life is on the line. And so the seriousness of dealing with a person's integrity, that the integrity that you have pertaining to keeping your word, these things are important. And one of the reasons why, like the brother Shammah just pointed out about there being that people don't care, the reason why a lot of people don't care is because if you go to their whether it's their camp or their congregation or their school or temple, whatever you want to call it, go and do some research into the repercussions behind breaking the rules, regulations, and protocol. And what you're going to find is that in a lot of cases, people get slaps on the wrist. I broke my word. Well, the Most High understands my heart. Like, yeah, but that didn't have nothing to do with the price of tea in China.
Yep.
You still have to pay back your word. You uttered that utterance, you still got to pay it. A quick example is just like when you look in the book of Leviticus, even from the first chapter all the way up to like the 10th chapter, and it talks about the issuing of offerings and sin offerings or whatever. The funny thing about sin offerings, it says even if you sin unknowingly, ignorantly, yeah, you might not get the repercussions of.
That's right. Yep,
Right.
say it.
Right, you may not get the repercussions of the deliberate sinner, but the Most High says, but you still have to answer for your sin, even if it's in ignorance. Why? Because this is an opportunity for you to get to know.
Ooh-wee.
So even
Don't
when you
hit him with it, Chief. Don't hit him with it, Chief.
even when you don't know, even when you're not clear, the Most High is like, yeah, well, this repercussion you're about to get is going to help you get clear, so that now going forward, you'll be right and exact. So even in that, even in non-deliberate sinning, the Most High is like, you still have to pay, so that you understand accountability. So now going forward, so when you deal with your children and your children are out of pocket, even if they don't understand, there still has to be a level of discipline for them so that they understand that, listen, even when you don't know, you have to know. Because what happens when you send your children out to the world and they go deal with these police and and they're like, I didn't know the law. Well, you should have known the law. Now take this billy club to your head. So we have to understand that no matter what we do and what we say, there's always accountability. And in some cases, it may cost you your life to not be cognizant of that. So it would behoove us, as the Most High would say, it would behoove us that we understand the importance of integrity, that we understand that even when it's not a deliberate situation, that all of our words, our deeds, and our thoughts, they come with the price. There's repercussions, there's repercussions and outcomes that have to always be considered. And that comes with having a community that's bent on discipline and bent on saying, hey, listen, regardless of what this society says, if you are in this community and you put your hands on a woman, hands will be placed on you. If you put your hands on these, if you unrighteously put your hands on children, and not for discipline, but for other reasons, hands will be placed on you once we find out that it is in fact true.
That's right.
So no matter what we do, whatever the sin might be, it doesn't have to be nothing along those lines. It could just be something as simple as not having on your fringes, or anything that the Most High has instructed us to do, and we say, I'm not going to do that. There's repercussions, and that all of that plays into the same. It's all in the same pot. So when we understand that everything that we do and say and think has a repercussion to it, a blessing or a curse, that keeps us more in line and saying, you know what, I need to honor my vow. If I told the Most High that I accept this covenant and I will do all that which is contained in this book, then it has to go down. If I tell my wife, or if the woman tells her husband, listen, I'm going to love you as long as you don't beat me on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll love you forever. Okay, keep that vow. You know what I'm saying? As long as the vow is in righteousness, keep that vow. And if you violate the vow, then there's things that come along with that. We have to be very careful. Like I said, this is like Shema said, we live in a time that there's no price placed on integrity. Nobody cares about keeping their word anymore. Why? Because again, there's no value. I don't value you. You don't value me. I don't value the community. The community doesn't value you. We don't value the children. The children don't value us. It's anarchy. So when you live in anarchy, who cares about word? I'll go to court and snitch on you in a second. Why? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So yeah, what Shema said is spot on. But again, it has a lot to do with the community and the environment that we find ourselves in, and that we find ourselves in deliberately. Not just what's going on around us, but we find ourselves trying to take on the ways of the nations around us. So, and that's enough of my soapbox preaching.
Hey, real quick, 10 seconds or 15 seconds. You know what's crazy, y'all? We value everything outside of our wives, husbands, and the Most High more than we do our wives, our husbands, and the Most High. When we at our job, we won't talk to our boss crazy. We keep the statutes or laws or commandments of that job
Yeah, that's true.
and all that other stuff. But when we get home, I don't value you. What? Who you talking to? Man, I don't like what? You won't talk to your boss like that. Cursing all crazy. You won't go to the courthouse and talk to a judge like that. Something to think about, y'all. But you say this is your wife and your husband and your God or Elohim or Elion? Come on, man.
Just picking back on you, just what you just said. Like I said, it's just so much of the outside influence that causes a lot of that, the strife and the trust and everything, in the household. You said putting everything first before, your own wife or husband, so-called, but it just, like I said, just how society is. Like you said, nothing is getting held no more. It's no more, like I said, no accountability. So it's nothing, nobody's getting help for nothing. So it's like, whatever. So people just do whatever. And that's the sad thing, because we're not getting, the repercussions that we deserve when we do things, because how the world teaches things, it's a little white lie or whatever. It don't mean anything, and things of that nature. So people just, like I said, tend to just go off what the world is doing. And like I said, if you had that type of mindset, you can't bring that home and be credible, because like I said, you're living for the world, and you're gonna have those problems in a relationship, because you are bringing that worldly thing into your relationship, and not really focusing on your spouse, and working things out together, as far as building that trust, because I said trust is a big key. Credibility is a big key. Like I said, being credible, because you don't want to, somebody know how to, they say, do not fix on the car, and then you have car problems, and you take it to somebody who don't know what they're doing. You don't want to take it to them, because you don't know they don't know what they're doing. You want to have somebody who knows, who has a record, who has a background, and lines up what they're doing. So that's with anything in life. They got to have that credibility and to have the action to match it for you to even, have to even deal with it. Because, like I said, why would you take your car to someone who don't even know about cars? You want to take it to somebody who's credible in what they're doing, what their craft is.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. So next question, I'm not sure, I feel like we kind of already talked about it. But I did want to say one last thing about being held accountable for what you said you're gonna do. It might just fall into the next question. The next question is, should the act of keeping one's word lie solely on the individual, or should there be a communal response? I think we kind of already touched different areas of that. So I don't know. Is that redundant? What y'all think?
No, I think it should. I mean, I think it's, well, it kind of like overlapped from the last question, but obviously it should be both. I mean, first there should be initially there should be enough integrity within the person to say, you know what, let me not be a piece of crap. Let me keep my word here, and be and do what a man does, or let me do what a big woman does, and keep my integrity, hold my word, and go forward. But in the case that we're not going to be, if we're not going to deal with integrity, then that's when the community says, "Oh, we'll help you. We'll help your integrity out. We'll help you get there. We'll help you. We got some things."
Am I up, or did I step on somebody's toes? Cause
Yeah, you stepped on my toes. I'm coming in.
okay, bro, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm playing. Hey, it was already answered. I think that Zebulon touched it perfectly. I think that, and I was playing. I was playing. Yes, Yahoo.
I don't know, cause my screen is like freezing a lot, and I feel like I missed like a quarter of the show.
Oh man,
That's a vexation of spirit, Doc.
that's that witchcraft, man. You got to stay away from that witchcraft, man.
You know what? You're absolutely right. but while I'm staying away from witchcraft, I don't know if this been touched because things was kind of choppy and freezy for a second. But when talking about, you know, being accountable for your word, have we at least touched on if things change or
That's the next
having
question.
it?
That's the next question after this one. We will.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll hold my peace. I
Yeah,
don't
and
want to
let
be
me
the end
finish
of
what
the
I was
show.
trying to say. You gonna come in and ruin the show. I tell you about people,
You
man.
know what, man?
Uh,
Blame this sorcery known as my phone.
I just want to say,
Lot of messiness on the show today.
I see. I just want to say real quick. I think that what Zabulon said is really actually a good. I think a good. I mean, people ain't gonna want to do it because you're gonna have a band that's gonna say, "Man, you ain't putting no hands on me." Oh, what? Oh, you rocking this Torah, right? Well, you. So it's just I don't know. That's ideal what you brought out because a lot of men are not gonna hold themselves accountable to what the words with their wives, and vice versa. You know,
And
so
therein lies the problem. We're right back to square one again.
yeah, yeah. So I'm done. That's all I got. That's my
Um,
answer.
with that being said, the as far as being held accountable, I know it's coming from an aspect of Torah, but we have people in our audience who don't necessarily either view the Torah that strongly or feel as though that's a necessary, like you are a necessity. Like you said, some brothers might feel like they ain't about to have nobody put their hands on them.
Well,
But
well, let me say this
so
real quick. Let me say this real quick to say what you just said. Okay, think about work. Think about like you see what I'm saying? Forget Torah. I don't mean that really, but let's
that's what
forget
I was going
Torah.
to get to. That's
Yeah,
what I was going to get to.
yeah.
So as far as something that's just as strong or just as necessary as far as like being held accountable,
Hmm.
um shouldn't there be shouldn't there be positions or not necessarily people who are willing to go to that length, but shouldn't it be just as necessary that have, I guess, grounds within your relationship to kind of do the same? Because like you said, at your job you get out of pocket, then you might be losing that gig. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I know, and because I don't know the age limits that watch this show, I try to be as tasteful as I can. But even as the Shaw movie that Spike Lee produced, the premise of that movie was women in protest because men weren't keeping their word, and men dying and stuff like that are not being able to keep their word. So with that being said, wouldn't it be kind of key to on both ends, as far as the relationship go, to people, for the person to say, well, if you're not keeping your word, this is going to happen. If I said that correctly.
No, let's think about the last couple shows. I think the answer to your question,
Mhm.
and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the best answer to your question is contracts. If we ain't gonna go with Torah, okay, let's just go with the United States or any other foreign country that don't deal with the Torah. Contracts come into place.
Right.
If the person don't want to deal with contracts, then you might not want to deal with that person because if to ensure like what you're saying, but the only thing and the only answer I could say is contracts and have something in place to where what will happen if it's not done. That's the only thing I could say, man, because everybody getting mistreated because of the very fact that y'all bringing out right now, the very narratives that you all bringing out. That's a tough one. So that's all I got, y'all. That's all.
Right. And yeah, I just wanted that to be stated as well because like you said, it's kind of hard to enforce something that legally, according to the laws of this land, would be difficult to do. And there'll have to be like guidelines in community to kind of judge the I guess the deepness to which that type of system is handled. So like
But
we always say, it's important to have contracts and understand the vow that you're making. But I yield on that point. Great point, Zebulon. I didn't want you to think I was in contention. I just
oh no. Even if you were in contention, it's you still made a valid point. You know, whatever. But I'm just, you know, I'm sometimes I get like a little, I don't want to say peeved, or whatever, but because I know that it's a very popular sentiment, you know, amongst Israel, that when, you know, like, you know, we always talk Torah, you know, we say Torah, keep the law, commandments, judgments, statutes, so on and so forth.
Get them, Chief. Get them, Chief.
Until it's time to actually put in motion the laws that require physical action. A lot of times we like to deal with the laws that require philosophical rumination. You know, things that, you know, as long as it can stay inside of our head, we're all for that. Like, yeah, the law. But then what happens about the laws that actually require like literal physical movement and say, yeah, you have to go and do this. You know, and then it's like, well, you know, it's like, well, no. It's like we have to, these are things that we have to do. So for instance, so when we say, well, certain things that we can't do in this land, it's like, okay, yeah, generally speaking, that's actual fact. However, you have groups like the Mormons, groups like the Quakers, groups like these other, you know, the Hasidic Jews, all of these people who figured out, they said, you know, that's an actual valid point. Certain things we can't do as long as we are under the jurisdiction of the local, authorities, whatever. So what do? We go purchase acres of land. Not only go purchase the land, but we go and incorporate the land. Now the land is under the jurisdiction of those who own the land. This is the reason why, if you look at the, not the Mormons, but when you look at the, another word for Quakers, you see them a lot in Pennsylvania.
Dang, I think
Amish.
I know what you're saying.
The Amish.
Yeah, good job.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so when you look at the Amish people, they incorporate exactly what we're talking about. Like on Amish property, if an Amish person gets out of pocket, they will enforce the laws of their community on that person, regardless of what it means to the outside world. The only time the local authorities, the United States authorities get involved is when what they do comes over those lines, comes over the border lines of their community and spills out into the general public. And then that's when they come in and say, okay, we have to address this or whatever. But for the most part, the Amish, they go and they do what they choose to do. You look at the Mormons. The Mormons legally practice polygamy. They practice bigamy legally. But everywhere else in this land, you cannot do that. You go to jail. But you don't see Mormons going to jail. Why? Because they say, no, we're going to own all this land in Utah. We own this. We've incorporated it. So technically, they're not even in the jurisdiction of America, technically, until they leave the jurisdiction of Mormon territory. Then when you're out elsewhere, then it's like, okay, now you're under their jurisdiction. But my point in saying that is that as a people, we have to look at these examples and say, you know what? If we truly want to do these things, if we truly want to enforce many of these laws that we sing about, we have to put ourselves in positions to actually have control over that jurisdiction. And many Israelites have done this. Many Israelite groups have gone and done this. And those who feel like, you know what, we can't do it here, what do? They just up and go elsewhere. They go to Ghana, or they'll go down to Central America, where they go places where they know that, you know what, these laws are going to get kept regardless. But I do notice that it's only a problem amongst our people when it's time to enforce accountability. When it's time for everything else, you know, it's like, yeah, I'll wear this head garment, I'll put this turban on, and I'll do all these other nice things. But if someone says, no, Ak, you cannot beat your woman's behind. You cannot do that. And because you continue to put your hands on your wife, we're going to put our hands on you. Then it's an issue of, well, you can't tell. Well, no, Yah tells us that. Yah says you cannot do these things. No, you will not, like I said, you will not beat your wife 3 times a week. No, that's not going to happen. No, you have to get beat. So, again, real-time accountability. As Israelites, we love to sing and praise the book of Nehemiah. Chapter 12, 13 or whatever, where he says, hey, in those days I saw Israelites who were not keeping the Shabbat. They over here stomping on grapes and making wine and doing this and that, and they see them trading and selling and buying on the Shabbat day. And he says, well, what did Nehemiah say? He said, like, did I not tell you not to come over? If you do these things again, I will lay hands on you. And we get excited over that. We were like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we will put hands on them until you're the person that's about to get hands on. Then it's like, well, I don't know about that. Like, no, you have to receive just due as well. I mean, think about this, and I'll leave this as my last
point. These pause.
Okay, and I'll leave this as my last point. How many times have you broke the law of the Most High knowingly? You know you played yourself. And how many times have we said, we've said in a prayer to the Most High, Yah, I know I disobeyed your law. And because of the way I disobeyed it, I don't deserve mercy. Please give me the punishment due for this crime that I committed against you. I do not want your mercy because I don't deserve mercy. I did this deliberately. Please give me the repercussions due to my actions. How many times do we make that prayer? Now that's righteous prayer. Now you're saying, because what you're saying is, I'm not going to try to trick the Most High into mercy, whatever. No, I did this deliberately. I deserve what I should get. That's righteousness. But we don't say that because accountability is a scary thing. The idea that you may have to suffer for your actions. I mean, can you imagine such a thought? I have to suffer? But I have the freedom to wild out and beat this woman and disrespect this brother and do all manner of witchcraft, do all manner of evil, but somehow or another I don't have to be accountable for it? That's for me, that's a problem. And I think that a lot of Israelites, because they're accustomed to this system of doing things, that it's okay. You can practically get away with anything. This is the reason why so many sisters, are in hiding, because they're like, well, I can't talk about the abuse that I go through because there's no accountability. If I speak up, they're going to say she's a filthy damn whore.
Come on now, Zeb. Let's get it.
So again, accountability. The only people who have a problem with accountability are the ones who are wicked as hell, because they know that when you set these things in motion, they're the first ones that brothers are coming for. Like, oh yes, you brother, come here, come hither. You got to pay. Come here, sister. You've been a damn bed wench for 10 years. You got to pay for that. It's like that old saying goes: the only people who worry about hell are the people who think they're going. The righteous don't worry about it. They're thinking about the kingdom because they know they're going that way. It's only the people who fear hell are the people who think they're going there. The righteous are like, no, I don't know about that. I don't know about all that. I know about this kingdom. So the people who don't like being coming up under coming up under accountability, these are the people who they've been living for years and years and years without no accountability, and have been able to do whatever they want to do, and now somebody's coming along saying your time is up. And with that, my time is up.
I just want to read a comment real quick, Tamar, if you allow me, and I don't have anything to say after that. It says, at some point, you have to distance and or excommunicate yourself from anyone who shows lack or moral fiber and integrity. I think this was in regards to the question, if I'm not mistaken, that you had asked, and when we was commenting on.
Yep, and I appreciate that comment too, but I think that's a lot of times we try to overthink stuff, but I don't think it's illegal to not be around certain people. I can't read that anywhere. So the next question, and we got two more questions on this, but next question is, are there circumstances that require one to break their promise? So that's the big elephant in the room. Are there any circumstances that require you to then not keep your word? In the household, again, I'm talking about the household.
You want only the literature, right?
I think I need a cup of tea on that one.
You want only the literature, right? I'm gonna give you.
I mean, whatever you think. I mean, we definitely bring it in, but whatever you, yeah.
Well, I'm only gonna give the literature.
Yeah.
Because that's the question that I gotta really think on, to be honest with you. Because I'm big on your word, so I don't. I'm sure it is. Maybe it depends, like the death type stuff or something in regards to health that might need to be changed that you might have word on. Like, I don't want you to remove this if I die, but you need to remove this because you got a chance to live. That's something that maybe, I don't know, going against the word in a sense. I don't know. But as far as the literature, I think it's only the one with the vows when it's dealing with the father being able to stop a vow and the husband being able to stop a vow, I think. And that's all I could think of as far as the Tanakh.
Yes, sir.
And your face was stuck, Shema. You look like it was like a portrait of you. There was an audio in the background. That's funny.
You know what I came to the conclusion of? And I'm going to say this and I'm done. I do not look like a lot of the pictures I post or these videos. Forget all of y'all. Forget you.
Next up.
I guess I'm next.
Yes, go ahead.
I
Oh,
believe that's you.
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm probably not even in the camera. I don't even know at this point. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Are there any circumstances where it's okay to break your promise? And this is talking about in the household. No, are there circumstances that require? That's the key word. Require one to break their promise.
In the household, that's a hard question to answer. I feel like the obvious answer is no, right? Because nobody wants to be around somebody who has to break their promise. But I think that's one of them circumstantial type of things. Being logical, I think people need to practice, instead of breaking promises, being more aware of the promises that they make. And I think that's, I'm sorry if y'all hear like motorcycles and stuff. There's literally the highway is like right behind me. So, but I think people need to be more aware of the promises that they make, and maybe even choose their words carefully. Because, there's going to be times and situations where, you know, things need to be thought of, things need to be kind of replanned or repurposed. And it's difficult to say, well, I'm just going to break my promise. But that's why I was saying with consistency. and how, you know, the other brothers talked about trust, and, you know, all of those things kind of compound, because I think that's where the other person's long suffering and understanding comes in too. So you kind of have this package where everybody involved with that word or that promise or that vow that you made have to be in agreement that you deviating from that initial plan is okay, you know, because it's certain things, you know, you may have said, okay, well, we're going to do this within this time frame, or this is how I want to operate, or, you know, even something as simple as, you know, I'm going to get you. All right, I'll give you a perfect example. Um, Let me deal with birthdays. I think most people still celebrate their birthdays. I know some people don't, and if you don't, I don't mean to offend. But somebody may say, "Hey, you know, for your birthday, I'm going to get you this toy or whatever to a kid or something like that." And, you know, certain situations happen. You lose your job, finances are tight. You're not able to do that. I think having a conversation about it instead of just going and doing your own thing might be necessary. So I would say in situations where your word has to be altered, I don't want to say a promise being broken, um, but, you know, your word being altered, or maybe even thinking of a new plan. I think it might be necessary only when the group or the people that promise impacts come together and mutually understand the different variables. And I'm going to yield for now and let other people kind of say their purpose and then come back in.
Well, I know I'm like a firm believer of like I tell my kids, I always say, well, it was in the Lord's will, you know, and that kind of, you know, give you that. It's something's happening, you know, things happen, you know, and like I say, well, if I would say it was in the Lord's will, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. When that day come, you know, something come to, you know, happen, is already like, well, you're not breaking your promise, but, you know, these things happen, you know, because we don't know what tomorrow will bring, you know. So I think once you build off that foundation and that basis, you know, it's not like you breaking your word, because you, like I said, you want to be as credible as possible. But like I said, things happen, and like I said, if you saying, you know, if it's in the Lord's will, or you know, these type of things, and your kids understand these things, or whoever you telling them, you know, then I think they kind of ease it off as much as possible, make it seem like that you're breaking your promise or anything, or breaking your word.
Good point. I like that. I like that. Hopefully everybody heard it the way that I did, brother. I like that. How you brought that out.
Okay, and just to Aknashon's point, and also to Yeshayahu's point. I mean, just as far as being, you know, being careful with how we make promises, because promises are nothing but a covenant, you know, whatever like that. There's an agreement. I'm going to do this. You're going to receive this, and whatever the case. But I think, you know, let us consider, being that we were talking about the book, you know, let us consider Kohelet, Ecclesiastes 5:2, where it says, "Do not be rash with your mouth. Let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you are upon the earth. Therefore, let your words be few." And I think the importance of that, not just saying, because like there's also a principle that we find in the Gospels, where it talks about how, they say, oh, don't utter any, don't utter any whatever. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get that. Let your yea me yea, and no doubt I get that. But the reasoning for that is because we know that a lot of times we may do exactly what Ecclesiastes 5:2 says. We may utter something, just off the cuff with good intent, but off the cuff, and then we invoke the name of the Most High in it, which now makes it now you're in a very dangerous situation. And we talk about this, the situation in the Book of Judges, where you had the judge. What was that? The judge? Jephthah, as they call him in English.
Yeah, that story with the daughter. Yeah, with the daughter. Yeah.
And it was like, yeah.
Man,
and
that
he's
made
like,
me sad, boy. That made me sad on that story.
right. And he's like, yeah, this is my daughter, but I did kind of make that vow. And so these are examples that letting us know that, listen, this is the reason why Torah tells us to be circumspect in all things. To sit down and think about what you're saying. Don't just be like the nations do and just blah, 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 all day, whatever. Don't just sit back and say, you know what? Let me think about this. And if I'm not sure if I could do this, let me not make a vow at all.
Well, you got to consider everything. You got to consider the cost. Got to consider everything.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what you said. If I feel like, you know what, there's a possibility that this might not be able to manifest, let me go to contingency plan X, which says, you know, in Hebrew, it's im yirtzeh Yah, meaning if Yah wills, I will do this or I will do that. That also sounds like the book of James. But that if Yah is willing, I will do this and I will do that. You know, that's contingency plan X. The first plan is say what you mean and mean what you say. So if I say, listen, Ak Nashan, yeah, I'm coming through. I got these books for you, Ak. It's going down. You should be able to expect me to bring those books to you the same way that you expect the Most High to answer your prayer. It has to go down now.
Absolutely.
But if I'm not sure, if I'm like, yeah, I got these books, I'm going to get these books for you, but the way that my account is set up at the moment, if I know that, I have to say, Aki, im yirtzeh Yah. If the Lord is willing, if Yah is willing, I will bring those books to you. So now you don't have to worry about if it doesn't go down. You're like, oh, I know what the brother's intentions are. If it comes, it comes. If not, the Most High is still great. And you keep it moving. So it just kind of goes back to what everybody was saying, just about being accountable, not only with our actions, but accountable with the words that we utter. So.
Uh-oh. Okay. I just wanted to say, y'all both laid down, a great premise. I think it's also important to being straightforward with a person and letting them know, I'm seeing this on the horizon, especially if it's something long term. I'm seeing this on the horizon. I know we made this agreement. I know I made this promise. Same way, like you said, with the books. I know I said I was going to bring those books over to you, but let me get you ahead of time. You know what I mean? Instead of somebody waiting for the last minute, and also not letting that be habit forming as well. Because I don't think people are accustomed to getting too many I'm sorry's, and that act or the habit doesn't change, or as they say, you don't repent from that way. Because the question is, are you really remorseful about that? Are you really sorry about that? Was that really a mistake? Or are you just a person who is untrustworthy and your word isn't, as legit as you may want it to be or may want others to think? So, as Tamar has mentioned in the past, what's in you is going to come out regardless. Whether it takes a while or it's instant.
Right.
You kind of see that, and by all means, I'm not. I don't want it to look like I'm giving people a pass on things that they say, because that's not the case.
Okay. No, I fully understand. I fully understand what you're getting at, Aki.
No, that's what it look like. That's what it look like. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Oh no, no, Shema, you gotta, make it plain. Let me know when it's real, man. So maybe I can get myself an elbow or something. But
go ahead.
I think that's real. Oh, that's dope. Y'all can't see it because it's off camera. But
yeah, I wanna. Yeah, we got like.
Yeah, I see y'all.
See him. We got like 15 minutes left. I want to jump in and say one last thing before we get to the last question, if I may. Okay, I'm jumping in. I'm in now. Here I am. Okay. So yeah, so with the question, um, is there anything that requires one to break their promise? And I would say, like the obvious, the obvious examples, right? Time and circumstance. I like the whole if the Most High will, and but I don't know. I'm really big on words. Like if you say you're gonna do something, I feel like you gotta do it. Like unless of course you get punched in the face. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna show you my eyeball, and I get punched in the face. Okay, now I can show you my eyeball, for example. You know what I'm saying? But if you say something, you should keep your word because there's no reason for anybody to not. There's no reason for it. Like to me, it's just like you just talking. You know what I'm saying? And it's unnecessary. So as a person, as a child whose promise was not kept by one of their parents, it's bothering me. It bothers me to this day. So I have this like guard up, and I'm like, if you say you're gonna do something, I feel like anybody that deal with me know that. Personally, me, Tamar, speaking as an individual, if you're not gonna keep your word, then there's no reason for you even to say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like we don't look at it. We back to Zebulon's point. We look at it a lot of times. When we say something, we only look at how it's going to impact us, but we don't look at the other person's how it's impacting them. And that's true community. That's true household. That's the way you keep things going is by you considering. The Bible said it. Consider one another. You know what I'm saying? Loving your neighbor like you love yourself. Loving your neighbor and being mindful of them is 6 of the 10 commandments. You know what I'm saying? So it's a really big responsibility, and it don't take a lot to just not say anything. You know what I'm saying? Just don't say nothing. Don't put it out in the atmosphere, because then once it's out there, you can't claim it back. You know what I'm saying? The word, like the Most High words, he don't just say stuff and don't nothing happen from it. No matter what he says, what command he gives falls somewhere and then becomes something. So there is no excuse, right? But then on that extreme, I'm gonna add in one other extreme. We look and talk about contracts ad nauseum on this platform. So there are caveats to everything. You know what I'm saying? Like with the example that Zebulon was giving, if you're in a marriage covenant and you getting your butt kicked, I can't see you staying, right? You done made a covenant, I'm gonna be with him forever. But if you keep kicking my butt, so I wanted to put that out there. I think we kind of know that, but just putting that out there, that's being unsafe. You know what I'm saying? A covenant is supposed to be an example. It's supposed to be a contract, a vow, a covenant, whatever. It's supposed to be for the safety of everybody involved. Like there's no covenant that's just about you. If you say you're gonna do something, everybody's impact needs to be considered too. So going back to the selfish thing, if you making agreements and you're not cluing your spouse in, then you bogus. Period. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna cause a whole bunch of other issues. Especially if it's gonna impact them. And I can't see how you saying it's not gonna impact them. Like you might be in agreement with somebody else, but the value needs to happen on the other person's part too, or it's gonna come back to bite you. Could, not will, but could potentially come back and bite you. So that's my thoughts on that. Okay, last question. And thank you for everybody that's tuned in and that's commenting. We really appreciate y'all thoughts. I don't want to ever act like we're not watching it. We see the comments. We appreciate them. Last question is, and we could probably do our closing words on this one. How do we teach our children to be young women and men of their word? So we talk about all these things that we have discussed today. So, what are you, if you have kids, and what would you teach your children about the importance of keeping their word, once they're in the household, no matter what their place is, either as children or in a marriage covenant? How would you teach them how to keep their word?
Simple. My answer and my closing remark in regards to this is actually what your brother said. Credible. Um, your word and your character and the integrity within it is all that you have. That is what provides assurance for those that see you to decide if you are credible or not. And you want to be credible in this world because it will determine what your legacy is to others, and most importantly, the Most High. Second importantly, your household, your family. So that's my answer. That's my closing statement.
Yeah, I just think too, like I said, just leading by example, showing them the right ways and things like that. I said, being credible, what you do as a parent as well too, not being fraudulent, because like I said, kids pick up on all those things, and just lead by example. And like I said, you keep the Most High first, you know what I'm saying? And you get off those premises and bases, everything else is gonna fall in line, So like I said, I'm a firm believer in that, just being, molded to order the things and doing everything the right way. Like I said, keeping God first. And I know been off, like I said, his basis, like you say, being a person of their words. That's what the Most High talk about. Don't say anything, don't utter anything, without really understanding what you're saying and what you're doing, because we know with him, his word don't come back void. So if we living off that same basis and premises, we have to be the same way in our household, with our kids as well. Thank y'all for letting me be on there as well.
Absolutely.
We love you.
Love you too.
Are you up, Yeshayahu?
I'm going to be real quick.
Take your time.
I think the two brothers that went before me.
I'm timing you out.
Oh man, give me 10 seconds. You can count down now.
You said real quick, so I had to say that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not as long-winded as I appear to be. So now, real quick. Y'all both kind of hit it as far as the children are concerned. Consistency is key. Combining your actions with your word to kind of deliver something to them. I'm packaging that before them, and if there's a situation that comes up where, things change, confronting that situation, being present within it, and even using those as lessons to teach them as well. So, for instance, in situations where you may fall short, explain why, give them the circumstances in which that happened, and hold yourself accountable. I hear accountability spoken of. I hear even Chief Zeb said, those brothers will come snatch you up. But even if you don't have a situation where brothers is going to come snatch you up, you present every situation as being that dire to them. This
That's
way
right.
they kind of see and say, oh, this is real. You know what I mean? Or this is the hardships we have to face when we don't honor, other people and ourselves, or we don't present ourselves with a good character, or other people don't see us as being good character or having good characteristics. So, keeping it short, I would say combining those things together and delivering that to them and unpackaging it and having what I call grown up conversation sometimes. Hitting them on a level, whatever age group it'll be, but being able to speak realness to them so they can see, all sides of the coin or all sides of the dice, or however you want to put it. Now yield there. Shalom, everybody. Beautiful show.
That was more than 10 seconds. I just want to put that out there. Real quick.
Ooh.
We got a comment. Example is the best teacher. Man, you can take that on all different levels. So go ahead.
No, indeed. And like for me, for me as a father, I have my son Zakai, I have my daughter Zaria. I'm a proponent of what I call intelligent corporal punishment. Not just corporal punishment, but intelligent corporal punishment. So for instance, when I tell my children, like if I tell my son, more so my son because he's older, whatever, and I tell him, like there are rules and regulations. There are certain things that you're going to do. There's prayers to be made. Make sure you do your prayer. Make sure you get your little get your reading on. Do whatever, go do your chores. Get that garbage outside or whatever. He understands that when Abba says to do something, it's actually not up for discussion to go do it. And he understands that if he does not do what I tell him to do, that number one, I'm going to explain to him why it's important that he do what I tell him to do. And along with that, if it comes to that point, there's also discipline. One of the reasons why I'm big on that is that this is the very thing that our children are going to see when they get older and they get out into the world, that nothing they do goes without repercussions. Nothing. Everything comes with repercussions, and you have to be a person of integrity. So one thing that my children have to see with me, going back to what Yeshayahu said, there has to be consistency. They have to see that when Abba says to get the garbage out, the garbage should be flying through that door. Get it out. If Abba says, hey, it's time for prayer, there should be no, no, you should be already praying by the time I'm telling you to pray. So that they understand that when there is something to do, when you have a responsibility, that responsibility has to be upheld with the utmost dire necessity. There has to be a element of direness in keeping the things that we're supposed to keep. They have to see that because they see it with me. They know that there's like at 4 o'clock sharp every day, homework, 5 o'clock, chores, 6 o'clock, dinner, everything. There is a time and place for everything with them, and they see it consistently. So when Abba says this, they can put their money on, they can put their allowance on it. That has to go down. When they see that continuously throughout their childhood, they get older, they already have it instilled that, oh, if I say so and so, that has to happen. There's no room for it not happening. And if it's not going to happen, I'm going to have a contingency plan, which is if Yah wills. So these things are important. The discipline, all these things are important for our children. They have to understand this is the world that they're going into. They're going into a world that's not going to care about breaking word or not. They're like, oh no, well, you said this, you signed this contract, you have to live it out. If not, you'll get sued, or whatever other issues will occur to you. These things are important, so I try to instill that level of not only discipline, but also, like the brother said, consistency. They have to see it every day. Not just on the Shabbat. They have to see it every day. And so with that, I'll yield, and by saying, Shabbat Shalom, may the Most High bless and guard everyone out there. And I pray that everything that we've brought to the table today is serviceable to you and yours.
That's right. I was going to say that live.
That's right. Get the book.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to add on to anything that anybody has already said. Definitely, I agree with Zebulon mimicking and being the example in front of them and setting a standard and not lowering the standard because they're children. I guess I would say that add on to that point. Yeah, they I've had issues. I got 3 boys, so you can only imagine. But even when they go through their growth spurts and they have these differences of opinion, the bar is here. I'm not going to lower it. You're going to have to either get down or lay down. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to fall into the program. And I think that goes back to us as parents. If we really feel like integrity is important and what you say is important, then that's going to automatically trickle down to our children. But again, like Shema said in the beginning, it starts with us as parents and setting the standard. And if we can't get our stuff together, then our household is doomed for continuous failure, no matter how many times you pray or attend Sabbath class. So anyway, so that's the thoughts for the day. I think we thank everybody that tuned in, and then those that will be tuning in later. Much love to all y'all. And Most High willing, see what I did there? We'll be back next week, same time. Same time.
Pretty sneaky, sis.
I did it. Yeah, we'll be back same time next week. And so until then, grace and peace, everybody. Shalom, shalom. And that's it.
Wow.
Hello.